It's time for Net at Night. Amber MacArthur is here. Episode 176. Is the world ready for a new browser? Maybe, maybe not. We'll talk about RockMelt, a social browser based on Chrome, coming up next on Net at Night. Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT. Audio bandwidth for Net at Night is provided by Winamp. Subscribe to Net at Night and all your favorite podcasts with the ultimate media player. Download it for free at winamp.com. Video bandwidth for Net at Night is provided by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Night at Night with Amber MacArthur and Leo Laporte. Episode 176, recorded November 9th, 2010. RockMelt. Net at Night is brought to you by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/night. It's time for Net at Night from Petaluma, California, US of A. I'm Leo Laporte.
And I'm Amber MacArthur from Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Bonjour. How are you today, Ms. Amber MacArthur?
I am doing very well, Leo. It's good to chat with you again. I guess I was here last week, but for some reason I can't remember.
You know, you travel so much.
But
you've probably been 15 places since you were here last. Where have you been to speak lately?
I just got back from Halifax, and I was in Saskatoon the week before, and I'm off to LA later this week. So, yeah, I might be confused. It's possible.
Wow, back to LA because you were
I am
just
going to Montreal next week, though.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
So how's your French?
It's a little rusty, actually. I haven't spoken French since I was in high school, so I need to brush up on it somewhat.
Well, we have a great.
But there's time.
Yeah, have a drink. There you go. We have. I saw Amber putting the glass to her mouth. This is where Skype video is so handy. We have a very interesting guest, somebody who's hot right now for the show today. You want to tell us about Eric?
Yeah, definitely. So Eric Vishria is the co-founder and CEO of RockMelt. And it was funny. I think it was on Sunday I started getting emails and tweets and people talking about RockMelt. And then they just launched an early release, I think, yesterday. And it is a social browser. So if you think back to the days of Flock, and we've talked many times about Flock on the show, they're trying to kind of do the same thing, but with a different approach. It integrates very tightly with Facebook. You can also send out messages through Twitter. Really nice interface. They are getting a ton of exposure, as you mentioned, and I know they're in the middle of, dealing with, I'm sure, a million different things right now. So happy that Eric is going to join us on the call or on the show for at least a few minutes.
Yeah, I think you can blame Scoble for this because he did a video piece on it and started singing its praises. And I immediately went to rockmelt.com and applied for a beta, and then I got an email from them saying, "Oh, don't worry, Kevin Rose has already nominated you." So thank you, Kevin, for providing me with a beta of RockMelt. And then I sent you an invitation, but you'd already been on there. So we're going to show RockMelt and we'll demonstrate it in just a little bit. But before we get to that, I'm sure there are some links and so forth we'd like to mention before we get too much farther.
Yes. Well, first of all, Leo, I have to mention one headline. Mozilla Firefox turned 6 today. So when we're talking about different browsers. And the reason I think this is important for us, I did a little research before we jumped on the show today and found out that our first episode of Net at Night, which was originally called Inside the Net, we actually talked to two of the guys from Mozilla, and we talked about Firefox 1.5, and that was in November of 2005. So there's a long history of Firefox on the show with us.
Yeah. So how many years? 7? 6?
6.
That's really great.
Yeah, so they're celebrating their 6th birthday. Yeah, so it's a really awesome. So many different browsers to choose from now. I don't know what you use, Leo, for the most part, but I'm kind of going towards Chrome a lot more
Chrome guy,
these days, and I tend to. I love it.
Yeah. Chrome is what I like, and then one of the reasons I was very interested in RockMelt is unlike Flock, which actually Flock initially used Firefox, but I think that they were moving to WebKit as well, and RockMelt uses Chromium, which I really like. It's kind of basically the open source version of Chrome.
Yeah, so for Chrome users, I mean, it's very easy to start using RockMelt. I mean, and there's some neat features in it, I have to say. I mean, I haven't used it that much, but I really like the interface, and I think the idea that it makes it so easy to share from within the browser is kind of cool. And I have not seen a browser get this much attention, though. I don't know about you, Leo,
No
but
kidding. Yeah.
they're literally everywhere.
Well, one of the things I want to ask him about is Bill Campbell, because he is a legend, guy who was former CEO of Intuit and of Claris. He's on the Apple board. He is credited by Eric Schmidt with setting up the kind of the structure for Google. He said Google wouldn't exist, Eric said, without Bill Campbell. He was an early advisor to RockMelt and very much a part of it. So we'll take a look at RockMelt in just a little bit. I'm just looking for your links. I haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, I have some more. Well, I'll just mention another one. This is just a quickie that news came out this morning that Google has rolled out preview now so that you can preview links before you actually click on them. Now, you've been able to do this within other browsers and with add-ons and things like that.
But did that, yeah.
Yeah, but now it is there basically by default for anyone. So when you do a search on Google, and I think it's a really handy feature when you are doing any type of searches online, just to be able to roll your mouse over the tiny little magnifying glass and be able to see a bigger view of what's on, say, the homepage of Mashable or whatever site you might be searching for. So that is kind of neat. So that was another big news item today. And also, I'll do just one more quickly, Leo, because this is a fun one. I mean, you were obviously around in the late 1990s with all of the different .com companies, and then we had the crash. Well, one of the biggest jokes during those times was that you were maybe a pet company trying to ship pet food, and how that was not necessarily that feasible. And there were companies during that time like Pets.com, that had an IPO, $82.5 million, and then eventually sank. Well, there's a new pet company in town called PetFlow, and I just read on TechCrunch that they have in fact raised $5 million to sell pet food online. So
what goes around comes around. It's kind of amazing.
It sure does. A lot of things are timing, though, right? And I think it's the same thing with RockMelt. I think with Flock, maybe the timing wasn't right, and the whole social web, people weren't as interested in all of these different tools as they are now. So maybe the new pet site has a chance to make it.
Well, let's get Eric on the line. Eric Vishria is the CEO of RockMelt, and that's, I guess, the first question you and I should ask him is why you think the time is right now for a social browser. I've got RockMelt installed on my Mac, and just as we get Eric on the line, you can see it looks like Chrome. In fact, it's imported my Chrome passwords and everything. But on the left-hand side, there's like a list of friends. These are you log into Facebook when you first set it up, and you also attach your Twitter account if you want. So all your accounts are attached. And it's kind of interesting. I can see friends who are online right now and interact with them in it. I can also do a status update or a tweet directly from the browser. Let me pull up Eric right now. Eric, am I saying it right, Eric? Is it Vishria?
Yeah, Vishria, yep.
Vishria. Nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us on Net at Night.
Nice to meet you.
There.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk to you.
I'm sure they're lining up to talk to you, Eric. I've never seen such a big launch, and yet to me it's and Amber both. We both said, well, this reminds me of Flock, which is kind of wasn't a huge success. What makes RockMelt different than Flock?
I mean, it's really a very, very different product. I mean, the kind of we started many years later, and timing and execution and the UI concepts are all very different. So, what we've really tried to focus on is building a way to have your friends there, have your feeds and streams come in from Facebook and Twitter. And underlying RockMelt, there's some big architectural changes. For example, it is a browser that you log into, as you mentioned, and all of the information, like your bookmarks and preferences and your friends and your favorite sites, all of that is up in the cloud. So it's the first browser that's really connected to a back-end cloud service that allows us to actually push updates to you. And if you log in from another RockMelt instance, like your home computer and your work computer, everything stays synced.
Amber, you'll see you're right at the top of my favorites page. I'll point out.
Oh, I love it. I thought this was kind of interesting when I was reading about the launch of RockMelt, because now everybody's talking so much about mobile. Now is the time for mobile. Are people ever going to be even surfing on their computers anymore? Maybe they'll just be on handheld devices. So as far as the timing being right for a tool like this, why do you think it is the perfect time?
Yeah, I mean, so mobile is obviously super important and exploding, but the truth is the bulk of browsing is still done on desktops and laptops by a very significant margin. So we would certainly hope to get to mobile. We certainly want to get to mobile, but we started at what we believe is the biggest market and what really is the biggest market out there for browsing today.
Well, when I look at I think mobile in a way has set up the expectation for something like RockMelt. When I look at the new Windows Phone 7, it's similar in that way, that the whole interface is around what are your friends doing, what are they saying, what's going on with them. So clearly mobile has kind of conditioned us to expect to kind of keep an eye on our friends.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's true. And mobile's actually, so there are a couple interesting things that mobile introduced. So when you click on your feeds in the right, or you click on your friends in the left, you click on, say, Twitter or Facebook in the right, or one of your other feeds. What you're seeing there is effectively a little app, right? And I think mobile kind of set us up for that. And the thing that makes those possible on the back end are APIs that we get from those sites and that we use from those sites. And again, like a large part of this kind of transition from websites to web services and making these APIs public is a result of mobile. So definitely mobile has inspired and allowed a lot of these things to happen, while at the same time, desktop browsing is still, I think, by an order of magnitude or more where the bulk of browsing occurs. So it was kind of interesting for us to bring some of those concepts to the desktop.
What would be sort of a typical scenario as far as someone using this tool? I mean, you talked a little bit about logging in and accessing your Facebook friends, but what other things can people do?
Yeah, so what we try to do is really think about what are big things people do online every single day, and how can we make those easier? So the three big areas that we initially focused on are, one, keeping up with your friends. So we make it really easy. You can drag a link, for example, over to a friend or a video or an image to share it with them, to chat it with them. You'll also notice that your friends, if they have a new post, they'll get a blue highlight to let you know that one of your favorite friends has done something. You may want to check it out. Right. In a similar way, so the second big area is really consuming news and updates. So getting updates on the right edge of the browser, little notifications. You can click on them, and it'll instantly open with the updates, so you can see those right there. So we try to make it really easy. What we found is typical users of the web only visit 5 to 7 unique websites, right? They only visit 5 to 7 unique websites, and they visit them multiple times a day.
That's true.
Effectively polling for updates. They're polling for updates. And
right.
The funny thing to us was it's 2010. We do the same thing as users every single day, and yet the browser wasn't smart enough to actually understand what my favorite sites are and have that content ready and waiting for me. And that's what we've tried to do.
The idea is we just don't leave the browser. This is kind of what Google's idea was with Chromium OS. Almost the same thing with Chrome OS, which is the browser becomes your interface to the world.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting stats that I saw was that 13 years ago, I think 10% of computer time was in the browser. Today, for a typical consumer, it's 90%.
Yeah.
So it's just, that's where people spend their time. And so it made natural sense to kind of make the browser more powerful. And I do want to actually mention the third thing, which is really interesting, an area that we focused on, is search. So searching in the browser, like we Google things all the time, right? All of us do. It's really a critical part of the web experience. And what we did is rethink, like, how do you actually get to the right results? So when you search for something through RockMelt, rather than just redirect you to the Google results page, we actually drop down a column of the results, of the Google results, and then you can actually click through. That column stays up, so you can actually click through those results and flip through the actual pages in a super fast way.
I'm not getting that right now. I wonder if your servers are getting hit pretty hard at this point.
No, so actually just hit enter on the search. It doesn't touch our servers at all. Just
there it is. I didn't hit enter. There you go.
Yeah, got hit enter. So, and then you can just, if you click through, click on the top one, and
there it is.
And then just use your arrow keys. You can down arrow. just down arrow.
So this is kind of Google Instant built into. That's kind of nice. I like that.
And you can flip through, and you can see how fast it is because we're doing some cool things in the background to make it really, really fast.
That's one of the things I noticed in the preferences. I can have you pre-cache sites, and that's by default, isn't it?
Yeah, there's that's a different preference than this. This is something that happens automatically.
Okay, yeah. And I do like the fact that I can turn Growl on.
Yeah, you can turn notifications on if you want.
That's Macintosh. Do you do that as something similar on Windows?
Yeah, we actually have we use desktop notifications on Windows as well. So you can get something similar. Instead of the top right of your screen, it'll be from the top. The bottom right. But,
now, I have to admit, Amber, I was a little skeptical about RockMelt because I thought, well, I've used Flock. I don't know if I want my social stuff here all the time. But I have to say, Eric, you've kind of convinced me a little bit because I do, in fact, live in the browser. And if most of what I do in the browser is here, for instance, a lot of what I do is just share links. The fact that I could just drag this to somebody and share it, whether on their Facebook wall, through a chat, or a message, is great.
Yeah, we try to make it easier, and it's important to understand. Like this is our first beta, so we are at the very, very beginnings of this. There's a lot more we want to do. We've just scratched the surface, so it really is just the beginning. There are plenty of kinks. We're working through issues constantly, but it's been very exciting, and I think we're really excited for what the future of browsing looks like.
Yeah, this is kind of...
Now, you've definitely gotten a ton of attention, so I'm just curious how you guys went about getting the buzz out there, because I know Robert Scoble, there have been other people who have talked about RockMelt, but really, literally, there are so many people who are interested in getting an invite, so what's that process like as far as,
how can we get on this?
As many people as possible trying to know?
Yeah, it's a good question. We've been working on it for a while, and what we did is we picked a handful of people who to kind of go show it to early, and we went and showed it to them. And I think honestly, it starts with a good product, and people kind of got excited about the possibilities. And I think the excitement is largely driven just by like, wow, maybe there is a different way to browse. Like browsers have gotten a lot faster and a lot just a lot more capable. But they're still all about pages.
Right.
And when we started incorporating friends and your favorite sites and the ability to share directly in the browser, I think people just get excited about it. And we've been really excited about the response. We are trying to get invites out as fast as we possibly can and work through some of the glitches. But we've grown 100-fold in the last 36 hours. So,
do you have plans for going public? Do you know what that time frame is going to be?
We don't know what the time frame is. I mean, I think it really depends on getting all of this working really, really well and working out.
Is there some back-end server stuff that you do? I mean,
Yeah. In order to, there are two big things. So RockMelt is fully backed by the set of cloud services. So there are two big parts of it. So first is RockMelt is a browser that you log into. And so that part of that is tied to the server backend.
Right.
And that actually allows you to log in from multiple instances, like your work computer, your home computer, your Mac, or your PC, and get your.
Well, I noticed that because I have it on my computer at home, and as soon as I downloaded it and logged into my Facebook, it populated everything else.
Yeah, exactly. So
that was nice. I have to say,
it just happens that people really like that. And the second big thing is the notifications that you get on the right. Those are driven by our back end as well. So we basically watch those sites for you and then push those updates down to you. So that's also made possible with the back end.
Right.
So it's it's the natural evolution of browsers to have more services tied to a back end, and this is again the beginning of it.
It also watches what you do. So, for instance, I just went to the Christian Science Monitor. I can now add that to my feed site. So it's watching the sites that I'm going to, and based on the sites I visit the most often. Now, I just install it here, so it doesn't know a whole lot about me. But that's cool too. You can by behaviorally modifying it by what you do.
Yeah, and it's really important. And so we've tried to make it really easy. So interesting for the geeks out there. The interesting thing about that is we're using RSS on the back end, right? But you'll never see RSS, and users don't have to.
You don't
copy
even see
and paste
the word, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because it just RSS to us, RSS is a protocol. It's a means to an end. The really interesting thing is a user wants to get updates. And it's a great technology to do that, but it needed to be made a little easier and more accessible. And that's what we've tried to do. And I should also point out, because people will definitely think about this as like, for example, the suggestions of your favorite sites and everything, that all happens local on your browser. So that's not going up to our cloud, and we're not, what you browse and what you search, like, we're not looking at any of that. We can't look at any of that. That's totally private to you.
So let me ask you a couple of technical questions. You're based on Chromium.
Yeah, absolutely.
Linux version or just Mac and Windows so far?
Just Mac and Windows so far, and no immediate plans for a Linux version.
Okay. And are you going to keep up with Chrome? I mean, you're not, I don't know if you're using the latest version of Chromium, are you?
Right now we're using Chrome 6. We'll be at Chrome 7 within a couple of weeks. We were able to stabilize Chrome 6 a little faster. We merge every day from Chromium.
Oh, good.
So
it'll update the same way Chrome updates for you.
It'll update the exact same way, and users will get to take advantage of all the things we do, as well as all the great things that the Chromium team is doing, which is amazing. It's a great piece of technology.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the things I ended up not liking about Flock was, and I think they didn't like about it, was based on Firefox. They made noises about moving to WebKit. It's smart to be on Chromium. That's the hot browser right now.
Yeah.
Do I have full Chromium functionality? In other words, are my plugins going to work? And my extensions, that kind of thing?
Yeah, for the most part. Now, we haven't tested, obviously, we haven't tested all of the extensions yet, but in general, yeah, your extensions should work, and all of the other features should be there. So there are definitely a couple of extensions that we've heard from users don't quite work, and so we're working on resolving those issues. But in general, yes. You
have an opportunity here to also make it more secure, since you're going through your own server. Are the HTTPS through your own server, is it secured?
Yeah, it's HTTPS.
Like that.
And yep. So that's actually important. There were a couple questions that I saw people kind of wondering about with everything going on with Firesheep. Like, how does this fit in?
Right.
And the HTTPS communication, obviously, to our servers helps a lot.
No kidding. Yeah, I mean, you're still Facebook. I imagine if I go to facebook.com. Still have the same Firesheep issue.
Yeah, exactly. If you visit a website, you have the same issues.
But when I'm doing an update, I don't have to go to facebook.com quite as often, because a lot of that Facebook stuff shows up right here, and this is all secured.
That's right. And when you post a status update, for example, from, like, if you click on yourself in the upper left and post an update, that'll go to our servers via HTTPS, and then from our servers to the Facebook API is a separate communication. That's however.
So I'm not opening myself up to cookie hijacking via Firesheep or other technologies, as long as I don't go to those actual sites, if I just use your interface.
We have tried to make it as secure as possible.
Good timing.
Definitely.
Very good timing for that. Yeah.
No kidding. I'm just curious, you mentioned that you've been researching, obviously, a lot about to make this browser the best browser it can be, but do you have any research as far as how difficult it is to get someone to actually change the browser that they're currently using? Because I imagine that's kind of hard, except for maybe early adopter geeks, those types of people.
It's funny, you would think that. As it turns out, over the last 3 years, over 500 million people have switched browsers in 3 years. I mean, that is just that was actually a stat. Like, we were looking at the browser share numbers and the amount of flux in the market. It's amazing how many people have switched browsers. And I think what that says, if you think about it, it's like, over what, right? Like, if you look at the difference between Chrome, IE, Safari, Firefox, there are differences, and the technical community certainly understands the differences. But if I have to explain that to my mom, like, that's a very difficult explanation. So we think there's a big opportunity to come in with a product that is kind of more fundamentally different, and people will try it, and hopefully we can impress them enough so that they switch.
That's the job, isn't it? Get them to try.
Yeah, that is definitely a job, and it all starts with a better product.
It helps that you're using Chrome, I think, because for me anyway, and I think a lot of people who've switched to Chrome, it's not a big jump to then go to RockMelt. Bill Campbell was very involved in your company. There was a good story about Bill in the New York Times yesterday. He was an advisor.
He's an advisor. He is an advisor and an investor, and just an incredible. For people who haven't met Bill, he is just an incredible guy, a legend in the Valley, of course, and we're super fortunate to have him. Yeah.
Was he helpful in getting? You got a lot of funding right out of the box, including Mark Andreessen. The guy who wrote Netscape.
Yeah, he wrote Netscape. So, we've raised about $10 million. Mark and So Mark and Tim and I have, Mark and Tim have been working together since 1996. Mark is the one who recruited Tim to join Netscape. Tim's my co-founder.
Interesting.
So he recruited Tim to join Netscape after Tim wrote LDAP or co-authored LDAP while he was doing his PhD at the University of Michigan. And then I've been working with both of them since the early days of LoudCloud, which they co-founded together in, I guess that's early 2000. So I've been working with them for over 10 years. So yeah, Mark has obviously been thinking about browsers for a long time. So he's a great guy to have on board.
No kidding.
Where did the name come from?
Yeah, it's a good.
I like the logo too.
Everybody asks the question on the name, and I wish we had a sexier story. The truth is, as it goes with company names and startup names these days, it's all about getting the .com domain name, and most of those are very expensive. So you take two words that we kind of liked, is easy to say and easy to spell, and stick them together, and the domain was $12. So we were like, okay,
it's magic time.
Yeah,
that's a good story.
What clinched it for us was when we came up with the logo. Then we were like, okay, we think this logo is cool. We'll go with this. So it definitely grew on us.
You got a big team. I mean, it's about 50 people. You can see it at the bottom of the RockMelt screen. There's quite a few people.
It's not 50. We're just under 30 people.
30. Okay, that's a big team though for a startup that hasn't even launched yet. So
yeah, it's a good sized team. I mean, if you think about what we're doing, we have like native Mac developers, native Windows developers, back-end engineers, web developers, designers. So it's an ambitious effort compared to any other browser company. We're probably a tenth or less of the size. So yes, in some ways it's big, but I think in most ways it's pretty small for what we've been able to do so far.
And I'm guessing, but I think one of the reasons investors would be interested in this is because there's believe it or not, a lot of money to be made in free browsers.
Yeah, there is. I think the really interesting thing is the business of browsers is just in its infancy. I mean, this is just they've just scratched the surface. So for those who don't know, the way browsers make money is through search. So search is integrated into the browser. And the search engines pay a referral fee effectively to the browser developers.
Millions, tens of millions of dollars for Mozilla, if we're to be believed.
Well, actually, I think for Mozilla, hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
And Safari and Opera and others make money that way too. And we think that. So as you can see in RockMelt is really all about integrating the services that you use into the browser, and we think that over time, those will all be revenue generating as well. But right now, I mean, important to point out, like we're just at the very beginning. We're 100% focused on a great product and trying to get some users, and that's really what it's all about right now.
Well, I was skeptical at first, but I have to say, Amber, you've convinced me, and Eric, you've convinced me.
All right.
I launched it last night.
Leo,
I said,
when you're silent for a couple of minutes and you're playing, I know that it's a good sign.
Well, I do live in the browser, and a lot. I don't live in the social media. I mean, I probably do actually. I check Facebook and Twitter pretty often. This would have no utility for somebody who's not on Facebook, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, right now you need Facebook to log in. So luckily, that's 500 million people and growing
that's a good
very
number.
quickly.
Yeah.
So,
it's a decent universe.
I mean, that's one of the really interesting things about the browser market is there are 2.1 billion people online, and
they all use browsers.
It's a huge huge market.
Yeah.
So.
Now, I've got one complaint. I can't go full screen. Sure. I like to go full screen in Chrome, and as soon as I go full screen, all the nice stuff on the side goes away.
It's funny that you say that. I will definitely register that. The reason we actually did that on purpose. We figured when you go full screen,
you don't want to
really
see that stuff.
Full screen.
Right.
Yeah.
I need fullish, almost full.
Yeah. So
I just made it. I just zoomed it, and I still get the edges, which is fine.
Yeah. Well, now that we have the ability to hide edges, maybe we can reconsider that.
Also, LastPass, which is a plugin that I am, absolutely dependent on, seems to be a little fooled by what's going on. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, it seems. I think LastPass and both LastPass and 1Password can get wonky.
Right.
Some people are having success with it. Some people aren't. So we're looking into those two, and hopefully we'll be able to resolve those quickly.
I'm sure it's your goal to have everything work.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we want to have things work that users like to use. I mean,
Right.
that's yeah,
What happens
absolutely.
for me over LastPass? It ends up on the right-hand side as like an RSS feed when I install an
Yeah, well,
extension.
that's where extensions show up.
Oh,
in
it is.
RockMelt.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe it is working.
Yeah, so it actually may be working for you. You can click on
Oh,
it. And
yeah.
see.
All right. Maybe it is. I take it back. I just didn't expect it there.
Yeah, we moved. So basically, the nice thing about moving extensions over to the right edge there is you can take advantage of RockMelt windowing. So you can actually, when you open one of those windows, you can tear them off.
Right.
Just like grab the top and tear it off. And so you kind of avoid some of the modality in extensions otherwise.
I actually really like that. That's a very nice feature to be able to rip off the window on the side. Let me see if I can show you. As I'm looking at something. Can I just tear it off? Yeah, there it is. It's just a tear off window. Isn't that neat? All right, you won me over, Eric.
All right.
I was
Good.
I was skeptical.
This is just the beginning. It'll get better, I promise you.
Eric Vishria is the CEO and founder of RockMelt. I didn't realize you were at the LabCloud. Now I understand Mark's involvement. It is the browser reinvented, a social browser. Reimagined. I'm sorry. Let's get the tagline right. And
Reimagine. Thank you for joining us. I know you're so busy today and in the days to come.
Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to tell you about RockMelt.
Our pleasure. Thank you, Eric. Take care.
Great.
RockMelt.com.
Thanks.
You can sign up, but it's a couple of days, I think, right now to get invited, unless you know Kevin Rose. Then you can get in. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
I should have asked him. They gave 500 invites to TechCrunch, but whenever they do that, I never get in there. By the time the TechCrunch invite, I read the article, it's long gone.
Yeah, I know. We should have asked them for some. Darn it.
What was I thinking?
Oh, well, Leo.
I don't want to.
What were we
You know
thinking
why?
about
Because I don't want to manage the whole thing. It's worth
Leo,
taking a look at.
tell me about it. The Newsvine situation, if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
1,500 invites to Newsvine, and I sat for days sending them out to individual people. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. They gave me 6 invites. But don't ask, folks. Don't ask. I'm giving them to the twits. They all have asked me for them. It's pretty cool, I have to say. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm enjoying it, and now that I've really got a better idea of the handle of it, I'll probably use it. You can make it your default browser. I'll try it for a while and see.
I know. That's how I'm always like that with new things. I try them for like a week, and if it sticks, great. If it doesn't, I just get rid of them. Move on.
Well, and there's a lot of
But
things
it has
that
some really neat features.
There's a lot of things I get very excited about, like Instagram, and then I burn out on it, and I feel bad because I think probably I go, oh, you got to try this to people. So I'm going to say, yeah, this is interesting. I won't get too excited about it, just in case I lose interest.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I do that too. I hear you, Leo. I hear you.
I hear you. All right, let's see. We got a couple more
right.
show notes, links to talk about, and so forth before we get out of Dodge.
Yeah. We sure do. So for our site of the night, I wanted to mention a service called Nudge Mail. Have you heard of this, Leo?
No, I like the name.
I know, it's fun. So it allows you to essentially kind of push an email into the future and then get it back when you need it most. So,
Send yourself a reminder. I like it.
That's all you're doing, really. So for example, if you sent me an email and said, hey, Amber, follow up with me on Monday about who our guest is going to be on Tuesday, instead of me going and putting a note in my calendar, I could just go and forward the email you sent me to monday@nudgemail.com, and then I'll get that email back on Monday in my inbox. And you can pick times, you can have a snooze button so it comes an hour later than you've scheduled it to come. You can do all of these different things. It can even deal with different time zones. So if you're traveling and you want to make sure your reminder comes on time, it can also account for that. So a really, really simple service. I love it because you don't have to sign up for it, which is amazing. Essentially, all you're doing is just flipping your email to Nudge Mail, and then it bounces back. People have called it email boomerang, and I love that term. And it is completely free right now, although there are plans to make people pay for it eventually. They obviously have to make money, but try it out and see what you think. I like it. It's fun and it's useful.
Excellent. Now, before we get going with our site of the night, or video of the night, I should say, that was our site of the night, I do want to mention our friends at audible.com. Audible is a great place to go for people who love audio books. If you're listening to a podcast, you're probably a good candidate for an Audible subscription. I'm a platinum kind of guy. That means I have 2 books a month, but they start with the Gold account, and that's what we're going to invite you to sign up for, is the Audible Gold account. You get a free book if you go to audible.com/night, N-I-G-H-T, audible.com/night, a free book awaits you. Now, the problem, of course, with Audible is what free book? There's so many great books to choose from.
So many options.
These are the plans. You can review the plans and so forth. I don't know. I think my next book is going to be. Have you listened to the Keith Richards biography yet? I know autobiography. I know that people are kind of slamming it, saying, "Oh, according to Keith, he blames Mick for everything." But that's kind of fun, even if it's not true. So
Sure.
I'm interested in that. You must have read the Millennium series by now, right? Oh, tell me you have, Mrs.
No,
Sweeten.
I haven't. No, I haven't.
You haven't read the Millennium Saga? That takes place in Sweden?
No, I haven't.
The gritty side of Sweden?
I know.
All right.
I know.
All right.
Even my mom has read it, Leo.
Yeah, and she probably said, you got to read this, Amber, because you love Sweden, right?
Yes.
All right. Well,
I know.
I'm going to make that.
She loved it.
I'm going to make that my Audible recommendation. This is a nice one, too, because if you kind of get into it, the nice thing is, there's 2 more waiting for you. Well, there's a new Stephen King. Oh, shoot. An eerie quartet of tales involving strange twists of fate. Full dark, no stars. Man. Of course, the Towers of Midnight series. People have been recommending that to me. It is tough to choose. But I think I'm going to start with the Stieg Larsson, The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. Actually, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is the first one. That's the one you should get first. And then you can continue on. I have all 3 of them, and they are great. They're a little adult, a little word of warning. Get your first book free. Browse around audible.com. There's 75,000 titles, so be prepared to spend a few hours looking at audible.com. Sci-fi, self-development, mysteries, thrillers, fiction, non-fiction. I read a lot of history on Audible. I love history. That was my major in college. That's one of the things I like about Audible. It's kind of lifelong learning. Don't stop reading. I know it's hard to find time, but if you've got a commute, if you go to the gym, even if you do housework, there's, look, a new Bill Bryson. At Home, A Short History of Private Life. You see, already I've got 5 books I want to get. See, 2 a month is not enough. But get your first one free. Audible.com/night. They play on the iPhone, the iPad, all the Apple devices, the Zune. If you have a portable device, chances are it plays. Audible.com/night. We thank them so much for their support of Net at Night. So you want to set up this OK Go video? They're back.
Sure. Yes, they are back. And I have to thank Eileen for this, the producer over at TWiT. She sent it my way. So this video is called Last Leaf, and it's from OK Go, which we've had them on the show before.
Oh, yeah.
Great band. I always think of them as the treadmill band because of the original YouTube video they put out. Now, they shot this video. This is interesting, on a Samsung camera phone, as I understand.
Really?
And each shot is made up of a sequence of 15 photographs. And it's pieces of toast for people who are listening. It sounds strange, but you should go and watch it. It's very cool. It's all animated. And I think it's one of my favorite songs from OK Go. It's mellow. It's very different than what they've done before. And I think, definitely one of my favorites.
I'm a little puzzled because they don't have it on their website yet. I thought that was the whole thing about OK Go, was they were going to put all their videos up on their website.
Yeah, I sent you along the link. I guess it's from Mashable. I haven't checked their website either. I just saw it in Mashable. It's on Yahoo as well. So that's a little strange. I'm surprised they wouldn't, unless because it's
Samsung,
sponsored by Samsung.
It's on Samsung's website. That's the deal. Now I get it. So this is animated on Toast. This is OK Go. Let me play it full screen for you. The song is Last Leaf. Amber MacArthur is at ambermac.com. That's her blog. You can catch her on the web with commandn.tv. That's her regular video show. You're on TV, on CP24 with Web Nation. She Twitters at Amber Mac or Amber MacArthur.
Amber Mac.
Amber Mac, that's right. The short one.
Amber Mac.
It's easy to remember.
The shorter.
And
shorter
she'll be
the better.
back next week with another great edition of Net at Night. Thank you, Amber.
Thanks, Leo.
Have a great week, and OK Go. There's toast in here somewhere. There it is. Well, that's weird. That's a lot of bread. How many loaves?
It should be the last autumn leaf hanging from the tree.
Wow.
I'll still be here, waiting on the breeze to bring you down to me.
Somebody said this is 2,000 slices of toast.
And if it takes forever,
It's making me hungry.
forever it be.